This is They Might Be Giants, direct from Brooklyn. DVD.
Hi, I'm John Linnell over here on this channel.
I'm John Flansburgh on stage right there, spinning around with the guitar.
This is the Dr. Worm video with the wormy letters.
Yep. Barbara Glauber did this graphic. Taking us into the video.
So our friend Pat Dillett was just pointing out that pretty much nobody in this video except John and I actually performed on this recording. So it's all acting. We have Phil Hernandez, who did not play on this recording, and the horn players are portrayed are Jim O'Connor and Tim Newman, but they didn't play on this song. Dan Hickey playing drums here. He didn't play on this song. And there's me and John. We did play on this song. So this was kind of like the 10th or 11th video where we're actually speeding up the film so that we can look more insane.
Yeah, in some ways this is, because it's black and white and it's got the sped up thing, it's kind of the return to NA. But we have a bunch of product placement here that you might want to check out in slow motion.
That's right. Freeze frame those products. They're all funny.
There's Wild Bongo Man, Phil Hernandez rocking out. All these animations here were done by Gary Lieb, a very talented underground cartoonist.
His usual stuff is actually way more disgusting, but he's great. I hasten to point out.
And this is sort of, the drugs kick in this portion of the video.
It's a little like that Sowing the Seeds of Love video.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So this was featured in the Chuck and Buck film. Just a very brief shot. I think it was just the horn players, actually.
Yeah. We were the band that the guy had signed. He was very proud.
This is me, my soliloquy, by myself, thinking it over. And of course, Dan Hickey, you get to see his face up close here. He drums like that all the time. He's always frowning really hard. He's a very happy, funny guy, but when he's playing the drums, he looks like he wants to kill something.
I think he wants to kill the snare.
Yeah.
He keeps on hitting it. Oh, wow. I forgot about the explosion sound we put in. Yeah, this part was all shot on a Bolex.
Like the X-ray at the end.
Yeah.
It's nice. The guy who actually played on this high note is Mark Pender, who's the guy on the Conan show. Plays high notes. This is our Snail Shell video, shot in Germany.
This is a crybaby song. I'm crybaby coming at you with my song. I've dropped the MC from my stage name. Please call me crybaby. Messages written in heavenly bodies, heavenly bodies, heavenly bodies. Messages written in heavenly bodies. Doesn't take a millionaire to see. Complete paranoia is total awareness. Total bodies, heavenly bodies, messages written in heavenly bodies. Doesn't take a millionaire to see. Complete paranoia is total awareness. Total awareness. Total awareness. Complete paranoia is total awareness. Better hide your silverware under the ground. Hello. Hello. This is Crybaby with a message for the women. I've dropped the MC from my stage name, so please call me Crybaby from now on.
We trace the phone call. It's coming from the Snail Shell. We trace the phone call. It's coming from the Snail Shell. I hold out my hand like a claw. The German scientist guy turns around.
And this is the guitar, parentheses, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, as dictated by the publishing agreement, even though the words The Lion Sleeps Tonight are never sung in the song. This is the first video that I ever directed, and there's Linnell playing the fancy...
Playing the bass, which I didn't actually play on the record.
Yeah.
I just needed something to do in this video.
Yeah, this is some kind of horse elevator in some ancient building in Brooklyn. This is the downstairs of Linnell's old apartment building.
There's that crazy amp that you had built. It's in the shape of a trapezoid.
Yeah, a very unreasonable design. And
there's my bass saxophone, which rarely comes out of its case anymore.
Right.
But cost me a lot of dough.
But the case is big enough for you to crawl inside.
That's right.
So there's Jim Seabold playing the drums. The song actually was written during a jam session with Jim playing the drums, inspired by the circumstance of playing with Jim. And there's Laura Cantrell in my kitchen, which has never looked prettier. And those curtains are still in my kitchen to this day, even though they're extraordinarily dirty.
Those are taxidermy forms on the walls of my basement there, those sort of dinosaur-looking things.
Yeah, that was actually a nightclub that our friend Matthew Hill, who put up the money for our very first album, was running for just about a year or two, I guess.
Yeah.
Called Quiet Life.
It was highly unlicensed alcohol selling going on down there. Nice place.
And this little prop, the giant gun, was actually, I guess it's like shot confetti or something. We bought it in Japan. It's just made out of plastic.
It's not real. Not a real gun.
But these are real buildings that we had demolished with our massive major label budget. This is that's the WIA office in LA, and that's Capitol. So this chord idea was actually sort of stolen from this guy. I can't remember the guy's name. He approached us about directing a video for us before we even made our very first video, and that was one of the ideas that we cooked up. And I felt a little self-conscious about kind of ripping it off and recycling the idea, but hell's bells, what's
too good to waste?
What's a commentary track if you can't tell the truth?
That's right.
And all these guitars are from the Mojo Guitar Shop. My friend Chris Cush actually has supplied many of the props in all these videos over the years, and let me basically take photographs of all his weird guitars with a macro lens.
We had a part of our show where you played two trumpets.
Yeah, I can play two trumpets. I can't really control what it sounds like, but it does sound like two trumpets.
Mm-hmm.
There's Laura's close-up.
I have a feeling at the end of this shot, Laura was convinced that the camera had stopped rolling. And here is a bunch of people that we know wearing wigs.
Yeah, this is at the Polish National Home where we shot Gigantic. It's now a nightclub called Warsaw. There's Oh, goodness.
That's Tammy Blevins.
She worked in our office. And there's that guy wrecked the guitar. There's John Spencer and Christina. There's Bo Orloff, who used to also work in our office. And Adam Gabser, who was our lighting guy for years and years. And Christina again. There's Joshua Freed. For 1 second, that was Robin Goldwasser, my wife. And there's Adam again. This is really just a parade of random characters in our life playing guitars.
Joshua Freed gets the last
scary laugh. The Statue Got Me High was kind of our big budget video. We'd had a bunch of success with the Flood album, and this was like we were kind of coming back with a big, fat, high budget video. And it was the one where Adam Bernstein, our director for many years, finally got paid, which I think he was very excited about.
Yeah, we were all kind of digging the fact that there was a budget for this. We shot this at the Sepulveda Dam in Los Angeles, just a little north of Hollywood. And we got to drive vintage cars around in this video, which is pretty cool.
Nothing makes you feel like a big deal so much as driving a fancy car by a dam site in Los Angeles. It seemed like an exciting location, but it's actually been in like a Lita Ford power ballad. And it's
been in many car ads.
Yeah. And we're basically using all these prop house science fiction backdrops. All these props are from horror movies from the 50s, basically.
Those cubes we actually made special.
Yeah, the cubes are made special. And there actually was sort of a Spinal Tap element of the cube building, which is like, this is the early shot in the day where I'm standing on this really tall pillar. And I was like, 20 feet tall, fine, no problem. I'll stand on it. And it actually turned out to be kind of terrifying. So there's some metal detectors, a little preview of that idea.
Those guys on skateboards in the spacesuits I think they're both like about 15 years old. And they spent the entire day completely wiping out on skateboards.
Yeah.
They built themselves a little jump, and they'd jump, and then they'd completely wipe out and, skin both knees and both elbows. And they didn't care. They were really into it.
I think, we were going to, have a call in some, actor magazine for professional skateboard people, but instead they just asked some guys, hang out in a parking lot with skateboards if they wanted to do some stunts. They were kind of ill-equipped. So yeah, there's some pretty cars.
There's I'm driving a Corvair there.
Yeah, that was that guy's best move. Kind of jiggling past the thing. It's a pretty shot. One
of the problems we had was making the cars look like they were going really fast, which we were trying to do. And in fact, we were driving recklessly and crazy fast.
Yeah, the wheels were screeching, but you can't tell.
It just doesn't look that scary.
And this is the fire that got us in trouble with the British video people, because you can't show fire on British TV at all, because they are afraid their kids will start fires if they see them on TV. Just like you can't use the word ninja, because if you hear the word ninja, you might become a ninja.
That's true.
I'm so clearly completely disoriented by the end of this little bit. Now, this is the one of the kind of standout videos in our video collection here.
This is the three-dimensional stuff is Mark Marek's creation. He built all this stuff and did the animation. And the 2D stuff is J. Otto Siebold.
And basically, I went to Jim's apartment in San Francisco for about a week in the middle of a tour, and just worked on the storyboards with him for this whole thing. And, just cooked up a bunch of crazy ideas. And
his descriptions of them were even crazier than what we wound up with, I mean, he sent faxes with these explanations of what was going on that were even more incomprehensible than what you're watching.
And then this stuff was pretty much done without supervision. We basically just said, like, go crazy. Mark had done a short bit of animation for the Rolling Stones and a short bit of animation for Cyndi Lauper, and we really loved his cartooning. But the 3D stuff was sort of a new thing, and but it just looked really, really cool.
Yeah, we got to keep some of the stuff that he used. I think I got the guy with the 3 slices to his head.
Cool.
Still have that somewhere.
There's a lot of really nasty stuff in this little New York cityscape. There's a lot of like dogs urinating and poo on people.
Yeah, we were reaching out to a new audience with this one. We found out, this is another thing we found out, they wouldn't play this video on MTV unless our faces were in it, which is the reason why there are these 2 cutout heads of me and John at the very top.
Yeah, a little, they might be trying to product placement there. I love the chainsaw cutting off the headstock of the guitar during the buzzy part. Back to outer space with you, Mr. Rock Video.
This is as they go backwards in time, you can see Adam Bernstein really tried to sort of beautify the video more each time. And it's funny, like the different ways that on an incredibly small budget, how he was able to like get a little bit of shine on stuff. We got these backdrops for super cheap, as I recall.
And that was shot at like that downtown. What was that? Some Supreme Court building?
It's the surrogate court building, which is right next to the Tweed Courthouse in New York. I tell people it's my house.
I was looking forward to a whole career in hand modeling after this portion, but it just never really came together.
So this was the first video where we got a huge crowd of people as extras. And apparently there's this guy named Hugo Monday who's in this group of people. We met later because he sang on Oh Do Not Forsake Me, which was on a later record. But he was just an extra in this thing. And he told us later on, yeah, I already worked with you guys. I was one of those people dancing around in Birdhouse to Your Soul.
These people, the women insisted on wearing makeup and lipstick, which I really thought was kind of inappropriate. I also remember really wanting the bicycle riders to go faster.
Yeah,
and
we always had a problem with making stuff look fast.
Some nice choreography there, and I like this Variac.
I think that I was not actually controlling the light. I think it was somebody else who was like mimicking the. Does that sound right?
I think that is right. I think there's like one practical light on you that you're doing, and then everything else is like some other guy just trying to keep up.
Right.
But this was, a very exciting moment for us to actually be able to make a rock video that had people walking around with placards saying "Stop Rock Video."
Mm-hmm.
Canary in the alley by the light switch, who watches over you? Make a little birdhouse in your soul.
One of the things I remember about this was that there was this whole question about what was going to happen to all these props, and they became like these it was like, remember there was this mad rush for all the props that were used, like the little glasses and the placards with eyeballs and stuff, and everybody was like, I'm going to want that. And I don't know what wound up happening to all that stuff.
Well, I mean, I made them, so I think I slipped a lot of them back into the same bag I brought them in.
Right. Now, this I remember as the moment when Adam had decided that he was going to make something that didn't look cheap, you know? And as a result, it kind of dictated the whole style of the video, which was a little bit more... I mean, aside from the fact that there are these elderly guys playing in our band, it's like trying to look like a very straightforward and almost glamorous kind of video. It's shot in this very beautiful location in Central Park.
Yeah. You'd think we were in the Blow Monkeys.
Right, exactly. This guy really was a drummer. He apparently played with Frank Sinatra and a bunch of people a long time ago.
He arrived in a Volvo, which impressed everyone.
That's right.
And the fellow playing bass, who kept on like jumping up and down all throughout the shoot. And I actually, at one point, I told him he didn't have to jump up and down. He was like, "Oh no, anything for rock." And I thought that was kind of sporting of him. He actually was sort of semi-retired and made. He
wrote crossword
puzzles, which was really strange, and it actually had sold a bunch of them to the New York Times, which I thought was kind of it seemed like a dream job.
Yep. This is one of those things where it looks really pleasant, and in fact, we spent so much of the day rowing around in these boats that my arms didn't actually work the next morning. We just like stayed on the bed when I got up.
Yeah, a lot of the making of these videos was a really good, preview for the aches and pains of later years. It's like, oh, so this is what it feels like to be older. One of the strange things about casting all these older guys is that I think that we put an ad in backstage, or Adam put an ad in backstage, saying, looking for, octogenarians or something, and who can also play. And, I don't think any of them actually look as old as they probably really were in years. You think, oh, what does 80 look like? It doesn't necessarily look as...
Well, the camera subtracts 20 years.
Exactly. Now, this video is kind of has qualities of Don't Let's Start kind of looming over it. I mean, just doing another video on a white cyc seemed like kind of a tough one, but the director, Helene Silverman, really wanted to be able to do double exposure things, which come up later in the clip, and that kind of dictated the way we did it. But unfortunately, it looks sort of like a repeat at the top of the clip.
Now, this outdoor footage was this guy Ken Brown, who made all these films himself with his 8mm camera, wandering around interesting places, doing pixelated stuff, shooting a frame at a time. And we actually shot a huge amount of stuff with him to use in this, none of which turned out to be usable because after it was processed, it all came out too dark. So we have this huge amount of stuff that we didn't get to use, unfortunately. But his stuff looked better anyway.
But it also sort of lost all the continuity between this stuff and our performance. I mean, basically, there's just kind of this non sequitur of carnival footage in the midst of us rocking out on a white cyc. That's a weird image.
Yeah, I think a lot of his stuff was shot out on what Jersey Shore beach amusement park area. It was like Ocean City or someplace like that.
That sounds right.
This is very new wave. Saying this reminds me of the cover of Get Happy.
Yeah, it actually, I think I'm wearing Elvis Costello's shoes in this scene. And that is a Coral Longhorn guitar I'm playing, which I borrowed from my friend Larry Seven, who was in the band The Jickets. Also featured in Don't Let's Start. he described the guitar as being made out of toothpicks. It's a pretty apt description. It's incredibly light. Time to go home.
It's nice that we're smiling at the end. So this was, you know what's funny is it seemed like very often we were either making a video somewhere really unbearably hot or really incredibly cold. And this was part of the cold series. We were actually wearing coats because we have to.
This was shot in the Lower East Side in like an abandoned building.
There's a school, yeah. It's on, I forget what street. These fish, unfortunately, were harmed during the making of this video. I don't think they lasted too long after this.
But this video, in some ways, I think is Adam's finest effort. You know, there's really some fantastic imagery, and it really combines a lot of different things that we wanted to put into videos.
Right.
In some ways, you know, we aspired to do a video with no lip sync, but you know, because we didn't have any better idea than just to not do lip sync, we kind of had to cook up a bunch of other scenarios, which kind of is why there's so much, you know, kind of odd choreography in this.
A lot of grimacing.
Yeah. But, you know,
it's one of our specialties.
I mean, ultimately, it in some ways, I realize it just kind of comes across as like an update on Hard Day's Night, but that's okay.
Yeah, a lot of gurning.
No lip sync, please. So this type was actually from a prescription typewriter that, you know, belongs in a pharmacy, I guess. That was my grandfather, Ralph Hospital. And this cut was, I had a big argument about this little push edit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny, I was really, I felt like Adam was betraying me. And I realize now, not only was it, you know, hardly a betrayal considering he's the director, but also it looks better. You know, it's fine.
Well, we always had a hard time with the literal connection between what was going on screen. We, you know, had this very hard line about ever doing stuff that acted out any of the lyrics or represented any of the lyrics in the song. So we shot this whole thing, the outdoor stuff, in this fireman training ground, which is the New York Fireman Training Ground on Randall's Island, which you can see when you're driving over the Triborough Bridge into the Bronx. You look to your right, and there are these enormous buildings with numbers on them, and all this stuff, which is the only function of which is for firemen to jump in and out of windows that are apparently on fire. One of the great, you know, scouts of Adam, this location.
So, what was the name of the fellow who did the animation? Joey?
Oh, Joey Album did this.
Joey Album.
Did this animation, yeah.
Who evidently was Jacob Dylan's babysitter, as well as a fine illustrator.
Wow. Yeah, I remember this is probably the most fights that we had with the director, because we had so many little things. Well, one of the things was they practically destroyed my baritone sax while we were shooting this for one of the shots, and we were also really picky about the way it was lit. You know?
Yeah, the cameraman had a lot of lighting ideas that we deemed bogus. Even though, in retrospect, it seems all perfectly appropriate.
Right.
But it was definitely a tough day. The animation works really beautifully. The thing that made it extra tough, actually, was that we had this idea to have all these ever-changing words behind us, and they were rigged on. The rig was really badly designed by me and John Grenand, who was our old road guy. Basically, it involved like Velcro and fishing line, and it really didn't work. So we just wasted a lot of the day trying to change around these elaborate sets of words, and just
every time we changed, it turned out, they have to relight it.
Yeah,
so it would take hours for each change.
Yeah, and you can't even read the words that are behind us. It was just a total exercise in stupidness. So that guitar was actually built for Bo Diddley. It's a real Bo Diddley. It's not just a kind of Bo Diddley guitar. It actually is a Bo Diddley guitar. Another Chris Cush find. I feel like all the words behind this might as well say like Rolling Rock.
Right. This is the part where the saxophone was dropped. Everybody was very sorry.
Right.
Man, we are so sorry.
In that way that only a video crew can tell you how
sorry they are.
Yeah. So those hats are basically pieces of cardboard with bolts of fabric just duct taped to them on the inside. You can make one yourself if you want.
That's right. This is our second video, and I think Adam Bernstein had the distinct feeling that we had already shot our wad with the first one. This was like an embarrassing retread. That's kind of what he was saying. He was mumbling as we were finishing up on the second day of the shoot. He's saying, I think maybe we did this video already, and this turned out to be kind of like this watershed for us, because that was the first big radio thing that we had, and this video got played a lot, and everybody thought this was, we had arrived, basically. So meanwhile, we were feeling like we're over. This was really fun, though. I mean, this again, like, incredibly brutal thing to go around on your back with an entire film crew running around. And there's some other shots that I don't even know if they got used, where we had entire like camera rigs strapped to us as we were spinning around. And, I was so black and blue. I think both of us were so wrecked after this. But it wound up looking really cool. This, of course, is the World's Fairgrounds in Flushing Meadows, and it was in much better shape when we shot this. It's kind of been vandalized and torn up. This enormous map of New York State that we're lying on top of here is almost all gone now.
We're just recalling how randomly uptight I used to be about stuff. I mean, like the giant heads, the fact that you could see the legs of the people operating them below
that
was
really
super bugging me. Yeah. And I was such a freak about it. And now I just think, it's people waving, paper heads around. It's not going to impress anybody, but at the time, it just made all the difference in the world.
Yeah. But we're just we're trying to look not as cheap as we were. I think.
Right.
That was always the job.
But the heads were made at Giant Photo, which was this. That's the scene you hate.
That was the shot that we hated, and we fought about it, and basically John and I lost.
It was good for the edit, though.
That was an example of, I think Adam felt like there had to be some narrative somewhere in the video.
Where's the accordion? The accordion is being blown up. But all in all, a charming effort. So this is our very first video. This was made on the tails of Married to the Mob, the film by Jonathan Demme. And tails are basically like the remainder pieces of film that they don't trust that they can get a whole scene shot. So they just cut them off and they splice them together. So we never knew where there would be a piece of splicing tape in the middle of the footage, but it was just given to us as a gift. There were a lot of gifts. Basically, this entire video there was no budget for this video. It was free.
It was the cost of the Xerox.
And here we are imitating New Edition in the video for Candy Girl. Or maybe Mr. Telephone Man. A lot of our moves here are basically New Edition moves. I'm not sure we were kind of infatuated with New Edition. This is more of a Frankenstein kind of thing.
That's right. But when my wife saw this video, she said, You told me you never used any product in your hair.
Oh, well, that's the wind giving you
it
the...
was pretty much, it was the wind and my natural oils that I have. But the thing about this, I think of all the videos, like, the Snail Shell video was the hottest video that we ever did, and this was indeed the very coldest. And in fact, I think you were fighting a flu at that point anyway, as we were shooting.
Oh, so the that little back projected thing was from Perry Hoberman, the projectionist for Laurie Anderson. I was just thinking, like, is that the same like projector that Laurie Anderson used in Oh Superman? It seemed like it's entirely possible.
Yes, I'm sure it was. We colored in those things ourselves. Those Xeroxy things. All this stuff was very, very handmade.
People would often ask us where this location was. They would just say, like, it looks like the most horrible blown up place in the world, and it's about 4 blocks from my apartment.
Yeah.
There's a very nice New York skyline there. There's the Edison plant. There's also a nice shot of the Domino factory. Yeah, that's straight out of the New Edition thing. That touching your face and it's kind of freaking out.
And flipping out, yeah.
So these are Tiny Toons animations.
You've never actually seen this one,
I've never seen them. I've seen portions of them, but I've never actually observed them. And this again was sort of a strange opportunity. We were in the middle of like our second national tour, and we had left our regular day jobs and were very actively going broke on the road, getting like $100 a night playing in very, very unpleasant rock clubs. And we got a call from Steven Spielberg's people that they want to do these videos to our songs, and they were going to give us a lot of money to do it. We actually worried about it for a while, and then we just decided to take the money.
Yeah. Easy. Easiest video we ever did.
Wow. So a lot of people have been introduced to our music through these things, which is something we became very aware of over the past 10 years. And yet, we really had nothing to do with them. Except, of course, making music.
Pretty violent.
Yeah. In fact, entirely violent. But I guess, it's playing on the violence of the music.
Yeah, that's right. I like how the saxophone thing is represented by the, goofy accordion player. Trying not to take that personally.
Well, I think in the next one, I'm a pig.
That's right, yeah.
I think that might have been the thing that made me not want to
never want to check
these videos any better.
Yes.
So this is Mark Feldman, the incredible violinist, playing this intro. And a lot of the rest of this track for Istanbul was created on the Casio FZ1 sampler, which was a sort of a big, cheap emerging technology in 1989. And I guess it was the sampler that Grooves in the Heart was also created on. But this whole video is just filled with all sorts of little bits of sound that I did personal sampling on. I bought some finger cymbals and sampled those. And then in just a little bit, you actually hear a sample of me doing a bottle blow there.
Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. So take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone.
It's funny, this track really sounds like a big production, but it was basically entirely made in our demo studio. Except for the trumpet solo and the violin solo.
Istanbul. once New Amsterdam.
Oh, there's no New York reference.
I can't say. People just liked it better that way. Istanbul was
Yeah, they're going with some other plot here, which I'm having a hard time following. Something about a stolen green statue.
Yes.
They're having to recover it.
So that song was originally a hit for a band, the Four Lads, who did a much slower version of it that we didn't really reference before we recorded it. We've been doing a song in the show for a while as a duo, and just kind of cooked up this rhythm section thing on the sampler.
Looks like Mark Feldman is portrayed by the pig in this one.
Oh, is that right? Oh, right. He's playing the violin. Well, I think, we're sort of sharing the role.
Take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone. Constantinople, why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks.
Kill him.
Istanbul.
Here's a song that features our tour manager, Brendan Hoffman, who midway through the tour let us know that he was able to breathe fire. We didn't know that when we hired him.
Brendan is kind of an intense-looking dude. He's actually heavily tattooed. He's from New Zealand.
He apparently is part Maori, which is part of the reason why he's covered in tattoos.
You can almost see on this, but they're actually pretty bold and unusual kind of tribal tattoos. And he shaves his head and has a very just sort of intense kind of vibe to him. But he's actually a super channel guy, and surprisingly is a very successful tour manager and has worked with a lot of really big acts. And he's really a key player in our touring setup. He's a really nice guy, and he's very together on business stuff. But it's kind of nice to walk into a rock venue and have this super intimidating looking guy working on your behalf. So all this sort of stuff he's doing is evidently to kind of get any stray fuel that might have gotten on his arms or chest to go away, so he doesn't light himself on fire by accident.
Which would look pretty awesome if it happened.
Yeah.
The sun is so large.
I'm not really sure. Yeah, there's all this sort of stuff that you got to go through to get the thing prepared.
Right. It looks, to the audience, it looks like some S&M ritual, but there's some reason for it, some practical reason.
Oh, now he's got
burning himself.
two different wand things lit, and he's drinking some fuel and spitting it out. Oh, look at that giant head. Wow.
About 93 million miles
Now this fireball that he's making, we could actually feel it across the stage. It was really hot where I was. You can see, I'm about 20 feet away from him, and there was a big splash of alcohol on the keyboard. So I imagine the audience really got doused.
I think Dan Hickey is just playing faster to kind of
Get it over with. Yeah.
yeah. It's like he's definitely probably a little too close to this.
Yeah. This was our last day with Brendan, and we thought it could actually be our last day. Period.
The sun are caused by the nuclear reaction between Brendan. The sun is a mass of incandescent gases again.
And the crowd seems to enjoy this flame business.
Of course, we didn't tell the club we can do this because it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
Brendan Hoffman, our tour manager. He's a stone cold gas.
And that is the sound of the stage melting.